Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Drawing with Mr. Sepulveda. I'm Mr. Sepulveda.
And I'm Amina.
And we're continuing to count down the 12 days of Christmas by creating 12 days of Christmas art. In yesterday's episode, we created snow globes using oil pastels. Amina, can you tell the viewers at home what we'll be creating today?
Today we're making Christmas holiday cards with watercolors, like these ones, but we're going to make Santa, sleigh, and a reindeer.
Awesome, Santa, sleigh, and a reindeer. And can you let the viewers know what materials they'll need for this project?
You will need something to write with and watercolors and water.
Awesome, and just in case you guys want, we got some ink pens here just in case we want to bold out some things or put a message on here like Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, things along that nature. We've also got some white Posca paint and we got some gel pens just in case we want to put a little bit of highlights into our pictures, okay? So go ahead, pause the video, grab those materials that you need, and come join us for a little bit of Christmas art. Alright, boys and girls, so when we use water with water paint, if we're using a normal brush, normally you'd have 2 cups of water, one for clean water, one for dirty water, but Amina and I are using these water pens, so there's already clean water inside the cartridge. So the water we'll be using is just to rinse off and dry off our brushes, and we've also got some towels as well to kind of clean off any excess paint, okay? So we're going to start off with the sleigh. We'll end up painting the sleigh shape and figure, and then what we'll do is we will put it aside and we'll start on the reindeer, and then we'll keep going back and forth until both paintings are done. Okay, Amina, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, so first things first, we're going to use our brushes. Okay, and what color is Santa's sleigh?
Red.
It's red. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. I'm actually gonna dip it into the brush first. Okay, I'm gonna figure out what kind of red I want to have. I'm gonna just go with whatever this red is, and I'm actually squeezing my cartridge a little bit so I can get some water onto this cake, and that's what they call these little squares. They call them cakes for watercolor. Now, having the water on there and mixing them thoroughly activates the paint, which means it's going to become a lot more vibrant, a lot more richer in color, and it's not as dull, okay? So once you feel like you've loaded your brush enough, we are going to start making the shape of our sleigh, okay? I actually like to make my sleigh by making a box first. I'm going to kind of make a square or a rectangle. I think rectangle is probably the better name for this shape. Is the better name for this shape, right? So we're gonna go ahead and just kind of square this off and then color the inside, right? You can always add water with water brushes by kind of squeezing them in, and then you can kind of spread them out a little bit easier, a little bit more smoother, right? So in case you need a little bit of that water, you just squeeze it a little bit on the paper, okay? And if you squeeze too much, it'll just kind of go all over the place. But if we squeeze a little bit, we're pretty good. Just kind of smooth that guy out, okay? There we go. I like your rectangle, and I like the way that you're working your color. It looks really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. And I see that you're getting filled in. Okay. The next thing we got to do is understand that Santa's sleigh is not a rectangle, right? I'm grabbing more paint, okay? And I am going to make sure that I kind of put it a little bit more on an angle. Okay, I'm just kind of putting a nice clean line going down on an angle, just like that. Yeah, so just kind of a nice diagonal going across. There you go. And if you need to adjust it, yeah, just like that. See, that's adjusting. That's the best part to do right now while everything's still getting wet and we're still coloring them in, okay? And what we're gonna do is on this back end, we're just gonna make it a little bit rounder. So I'm just gonna kind of give this a nice round shape, just like that. Good. And then down here, this is what I'm gonna do. So I want you to watch this part, okay? I'm actually gonna add a little bit of water here so I can use that. I'm going to make a bump just like that, a nice little round shape over here. It's kind of like the butt of the sleigh, I guess, right? It's kind of round, it's plumpy, and then it's going to kind of come straight across. Okay, you see that? You see that shape? Yeah, and that's what we're going to use to kind of help us out with Santa's sleigh. It's usually bigger on the back end because Santa has all of his presents over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go to get the presents everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. He's got to travel around the world for it. Yeah, I like that. Yep, just like that. And then just kind of work that water straight into the piece that you got, right? Just kind of going across just like that. Very good. I like the way you work with this. There it is. Yep. And if you don't get it all, that's okay, because you know what? We can always put another coat on this when we're done, okay, while it's drying. This side of it, right, this back end of it, I can actually put this in the water here a little bit and just kind of get some more. I'm going to also make sure that I have a little bit of a round shape at the top, just a little bit, just a little bits. Okay. Yeah. Just like that. Good. And with this shape down here, I'm just going to kind of round that out too, but I want it to kind of come lower than the top part. So I'm just going to kind of put it down like that. Okay, so it looks like the back end is bigger and then the front end's a little bit smaller. Santa needs some leg room, you know what I mean? So that's what we're kind of giving him.
You gotta stretch while delivering all those presents.
Yes. And I know right now it kind of looks like a weird shaped pot that a witch would make some brew in or something in here, I don't know. But this is kind of the shape that we're going to work with for right now. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to clean off our brushes. We don't need that red no more. The best way for us to clean is just using these towels, right? You can use paper towels as well to help you out. And then you can kind of put on yourself just to see, hey, look, there's no color, right? Which means we did pretty good, okay? We are going to put in a nice shape for Santa's kind of the bottom part of the sleigh, right? It's the part that's going to slide on the roof, right? And what we're actually going to do is we're going to actually use this water to paint. We're going to paint with water. So this one's going to be a little bit hard to see, okay? But we will just follow kind of a generic kind of sleigh pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of put this as deep as I can on here. Just a nice water line just going across, okay? And I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do with this water line, okay? In just a moment, okay? So if you're at home watching this and you can't see it, wait till we add the color because it's going to make a big difference. I'm going to put in some shapes here. So I'm going to put in a little bit of a curl, just like that. I don't know if you can see that, Amina. Can you see that little curl I did?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a spiral. Yeah, it looks good. So it went in one direction. I'm going to put the other two in the opposite direction, just to make it fancy. Okay. Yeah, and I'm going to put one more down here. And we're not done. We have one more line for this sled. We're going to start it back here. We're going to make it curve down, and we're actually going to go into the water that we just put down. Okay? And it's really important that we keep this water on the paper as wet as possible because we still need to add color to it. I'm going to stretch this bottom part really wide. And I'm going to have it curl just like that. Okay? Just like that. Ooh, you're doing really well. And in case you end up with a spot that looks like it's drying off, you just add a little water to it. It'll just drop in, okay? Now we're gonna grab a yellow color. Any yellow will do, okay? I'm gonna choose this one right here, okay? I'm squeezing my little tube over here, getting some water on there, letting it activate. And this is gonna be the beauty of this part, Amina, okay? All we gotta do really is just drop the color. And we can actually follow that into the water. And right now all of our viewers at home could probably see exactly where we laid down the water, because we're just going to fill in this entire water shape using that color. We're just going to keep going back for color, and as soon as I touch the paper, it ought to just start spreading itself out. And if it doesn't, you just have to help it out a little bit. Okay? Really easy stuff, I think. How are you finding this?
Pretty easy.
Pretty easy? All right,
Yeah.
cool.
It's not too hard, but not super easy.
Yeah, I get that. And I was telling you earlier, and she could tell you if I'm lying or not, but earlier I was telling her that the thing about watercolor is you really can't control it. You know what I mean? So you just kind of have to let that freedom go a little bit, like that control. You just got to let it go, and you'll find some fun with it. And you guys can kind of see this is more of an abstract sleigh because we haven't connected any pieces. But it is looking rather good. And again, if you feel like you needed extra water, you could have put some extra water on that paper before putting the color, or you could still have time to put in some extra water just in case. But this part right here, we are pretty much done with. As soon as we're done coloring, we'll shift into our reindeer, okay? All right, so we're gonna put these aside, okay? We're gonna grab a new watercolor paper, watercolor canvas, and I'm gonna leave it like this, okay? I'm gonna leave this guy off to the side over here. Okay, we're gonna grab a pencil. Okay, good. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start drawing out what our reindeer is gonna look like. I'm gonna make it really simple for everybody. We're actually gonna make an oval shaped reindeer head. Okay, you know how to draw an oval?
Yep.
All right, So I'm going to do that too. So I'm going to just kind of draw really light. It's really important that you draw really light. When we put the water paint on here, everything will come out really nicely. But if you do it too dark, sometimes the pencil comes through the color. So and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I am just going to try to get this as light as I can, just like that. Okay. And if you do, and I never mentioned this part, but optionally, you could always have watercolored resistant liners, right? And you can use the liners on here as well. If you notice that mine's a little off center, you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do?
No.
No? Oh, okay. I thought you knew. I was just going to erase it.
Oh.
I'm just going to fix it. And that's the best part about the pencil first, because then I can fix anything that I'm not happy with. So I'm just going to kind of, and you do the same thing as well. If you're not happy with how it's looking, just kind of shape it differently, erase it a little bit. But we won't overwork our paper, because if we do, sometimes we get like that pink smudge from erasers, and that's what I'm trying to avoid as well. So once you feel like you're good with your egg oval shape for the reindeer head, we'll be able to put in some other details in just a moment, okay? So next thing with our reindeers, we have a big reindeer nose, because Rudolph's like my favorite reindeer. I don't know about you. But we have a template over here, and Amina's gonna grab it. And look, this is a circle template. It's really easy. You can use this to draw. You can use any round shape at home. Like I could even use this cup if I really wanted to. I'm not gonna do it. But we're gonna use these little circles here. We're gonna look at how big they are. Like I don't want a giant schnoz, right? But I might have this one, and I'm gonna hold them really low to my paper. And all I gotta do is just a quick little circle. I'm gonna give this to Amina, but you can kind of see. I chose the one in the middle, but if you feel like it's too big for your character, or too big for your reindeer, just choose a smaller size. But we just use this just to kind of give them a nice little circle. And now we're done with that entire template. We don't need it anymore. Do you want to put it on my side, or you got it? Yeah, okay, so I'll put it on my side, okay. Next thing we need, 2 eyes, right? So let's put some eyes in here. So I'll give them like little round oval eyes as well. I'll give them like an eye similar to this kind of a shape. Right, really simple. You can make them as skinny, as thick as you want, tall, right, fat, whatever you want. This is your reindeer, right? You got 2 eyes, excuse me, and then we're gonna have to give them 2 ears. So I just kind of make these little rounded ears. Hopefully that's okay. And what else do reindeers have, Amina?
Reindeer horns.
Little reindeer horns, and I'm actually going to save that for the watercolor instead of us drawing it up, okay? So, next part. Amina and I are going to go ahead, and you guys can do this too. Because we have the water pens, we can actually squeeze these and push the water onto this paper. What I want you guys to do at home is actually paint the entire inside of this reindeer using water. However, we are going to avoid the nose. And we can try to avoid the eyes, but it's okay if you get it on the eyes. Okay. Because for our reindeers, I'm going to make the eyes black. So whatever color's under here, it's going to be okay. It'll still shine through with the watercolor, but it'll be more of like a darker brown as opposed to like another random kind of color. Okay, so we're going to squeeze a little bit. You'll see that. And then we'll just kind of mix it in here. Keep it inside the lines as best as possible. But if you go outside the lines, you know what? That's okay. Next thing we need is to pick out our colors for our reindeer. So she's got a little chart for her paints. I've got a little one for mine as well. So we just got to find any brown that we like. Or you can choose whatever color. Your reindeer does not have to be brown. But I do want mine to be brown. So I'm going to go ahead and start activating the paint by putting water in it and mixing it really thoroughly. And similar to how we did Santa's sleigh, it should just drop in nicely. And you just have to paint with water, or paint with watercolor now, I guess, right? But you can kind of see how the water's just gonna, or the paint's gonna spread within the water, which is why we ended up putting the paint in. The best part is that this paint will not spread onto the dry area like this, which is perfect. So we call this technique painting wet on wet. So hence all the wet paint with all the wet water, it's just all gonna stay in one central location. It's not gonna have to move out into the dry parts unless you force it in there, okay? And it's okay if your color does not stay inside the lines. It's really not a big deal. If you do have too much water, you can always dry off your brush and use your brush to pick up any of the excess water. It's entirely up to you. But if you're 100% okay with it, I say just let it go through, let it do its thing. It makes it unique, it makes it yours. So yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna continue coloring the base of our reindeers. Alright guys, so we got our base color set up for our reindeer, so we're going to put these aside right now, okay? And we are going to pull over our sleighs so we can continue working on them. We're up to our sleigh again, and you'll see how Amina's is dried off a little bit patchy. Mine's kind of patchy too, you guys can totally see that. This is where we're going to go in and actually put in a second coat of paint. We can go back to our original ones, right? We'll just put water inside of here and go back here and repaint it. And when we repaint it, it should kind of solidify the whole thing. But Amina and I kind of talked about doing something a little special with ours. We've got some metallic paint. And so we've got a red and we've got a yellow, so we can make Santa's sleigh a little bit more shinier and the bottom of his sleigh a little bit shinier, okay? So you have to make your decision at home on how you want to do this, but you can watch us do this in a time lapse. Alright guys, so while we're letting this paint dry, we're going to go back to our reindeer. So Amina and I have our dried off reindeers. We noticed they dried off a little patchy, so similar to what we did with the Santa sleigh, we're going to go ahead and kind of go back into this with a little bit more water and our original colors that we chose, or we can go with a darker color on this end. So I'm just going to move that metallic over, and we're going to go ahead, put some water in here, and again, cover this up with the original skin tone that we chose, or a different color. So we're gonna let this sit, and we're gonna move back to our sleighs. Alright guys, so next step for us is we are gonna be painting some presents. I think we can fit about 4 presents across here, okay? I'm just gonna grab some water over here, and I'm going to paint a kind of a tall rectangle. This will be my first present, and then I'm going to close it off down here on the bottom.
No,
without
red's coming.
It's okay, it's okay. It is kind of funny that it's coming, but try not to touch the paint. I probably should have said that. That's my fault, but it's okay if it does touch. It's not too big of a deal, right? Because if you want to, you can always use a towel or a sponge, and we can kind of soak it up just to dry off those areas. The best part about the set that you have, there's actually a sponge right there. In case you want to try to use it. Do you want to try to use it on the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then we can just kind of pat it down, dry it off, pat it down, dry it off. Don't worry. Oh, that's going to be your green present right now. I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize I had green on here. That's going to be your green present. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we'll just add water to it. And you know what? I'll make that my green present too. I wasn't thinking ahead of this one. But yeah, so we'll go ahead. We'll pick a green. I think I'll go with this green. This one. I'll go with the dark colored present for this one. So I'm going to go ahead. Just going to drop in this color. Look at that. Feeds in here. And I'm just going to try to carefully keep it inside this water rectangle that I've made for my present.
The water rectangle? You have to keep it in.
Yeah, you gotta keep it in there. You could do this without the water rectangle, but I don't know. It's entirely up to you guys. You can do wet on dry, or you just keep doing wet on wet like we have been doing.
Yeah.
Right. Either way, it's gonna come out pretty nice. If you do wet on dry, I think it comes out darker. If you do wet on wet, it allows you to kind of have some wiggle room to kind of blend and have lights and shadows in it. So. There's always that. There's some pluses and minuses to everything.
Yeah, I personally think that it's easier with the wet because like you can drop it and it kind of spreads out a little bit by itself.
Yeah, that's actually kind of one of my favorite things about watercolor like this. But yeah, I like your presents. All right, I'm gonna kind of repeat the entire process for 3 more presents, and I'm gonna give them all 3 different colors. Maybe, what do you think? Purple?
Yeah, purple.
What other colors?
And then pink and the tealish blue.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna do that. Some like blues, pinks, and purples, okay? So we'll let the rest of this time lapse, but we're just gonna repeat the exact same pattern for the next 3 presents, except change their sizes. So this way it has a little bit of interest. Alright guys, so we got our presents, different sizes, different colors. Amina and I were really close until this last part. But hey, that's all cool. Whatever colors you chose works out. We're actually going to do something really special with these afterwards using Posca paint markers. So we're going to just let them dry right now. We're going to pull them off to the side. We got our reindeers. Next couple things that we got, we'll honestly finish off our reindeers. We've got nose over here that we got to color in. Got the 2 eyes, and then we're gonna make its little antlers, right? Its little horns, okay? So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna put in some water into the nose, right? We're gonna just spread it around just inside of it. And I like Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer personally, so I'm actually gonna make his nose red. But you could choose whatever color you want. If you want purple, you want orange, you want green, it doesn't matter. This is your reindeer. You get to have fun with it for Christmas, right? And I'm just going to go to the red next to the red I've been using for the sleigh. It's just a little bit of a different red. Kind of just put the water on the cake and activate it, right? And then I'm just going to drop it in and swirl it around. And I was telling Amina, this is like my favorite part, when I get to just put in the paint and just watch it drop and see where it goes and see what it does. It's a lot of fun to watch, and then just kind of mixing it is also really cool as well. We talked about the sleigh having one more like special thing with Posca paint markers, and we'll actually be doing some Posca paint markers on our Rudolph if we really want to, because we could put in some white highlights using some white Posca paint. That's completely optional, and we'll end up doing it. But by the end of the eyes and the antlers, we're pretty much already done with Rudolph. Okay, but you could always take it that next step further. You'll also notice that I am not staying in the lines really well, but you know what? That's okay. Completely okay. You know, his nose, you know, glows bright, right? So, you know what? It's going to glow on his face. That's okay. Yeah, why not?
Need the glue and then Rudolph.
Yeah, just need the glow on your Rudolph. Done deal.
Yeah, like you could turn into Rudolph. You just need some red paint or a light bulb that turns red.
Yeah.
And you're Rudolph.
And you're Rudolph. Done. Or I guess with this watercolor, you could always take colored pencils and then just kind of shade around it with red. And I guess that kind of gives the glowing effect. I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of things to mess around with. A lot of options here to make your art stand out and go to the next level.
Or if it was like facing another way, you could have like a red shine.
Yep, you have that red shine. Good. And the next things we need are just color for the eyes. I'm going to go with black for mine. What color are you going with?
Yeah, black too.
Black as well? Alright, so I'm actually putting water directly onto the cake with the cartridge, but I'm not going to put water on here. I'm just going to use it as it is. And we should be able to hopefully stay inside the lines. I'm going to do my best.
Me too.
We're going to still use that same black, same thing. We're not going to add any of that other water to it. And this is where we get to make some antlers. And so I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to kind of lift this paint or this brush just a little high off. And I'm just going to come down this way. Just kind of follow a line to his head. So it's just like a nice little line. I use like the side of the brush. And if I need to make it darker, I can always drop in more of that black paint from here onto this wet watercolor that I dropped in. And it'll just stay inside of this location, which is great. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Good. I'm going to grab some more paint, because normally when I think about antlers, I think about them kind of coming off a little bit. So I'm just going to do another small one, just little squiggles, and then I'm going to have it go into the side over here. Ooh, I like your squiggles. Those squiggles are fun squiggles. I didn't do that. I should have done that. Okay. Antler competition going to Amina. Okay. And then we just got to give them antlers on this side. It does not have to be even at all. I don't think I've ever seen a reindeer with even antlers, to be honest. This one looks like a tree branch. I don't know what I did. And then I'm going to do the same thing here.
I did a lot of squiggles.
Yeah. Oops.
I'm going to kind of make this one curve in more.
Oh, I like that. I'm making this one thicker because I made a mistake. But just like Amina says, we can just fix it. I'm going to have that curve. And then, you know what? Maybe I'll do the same thing over here. Just thicken this one up just a little bit more. We'll let these dry, right? And then we'll come back to the sleighs. And we've got one last thing to do to these. And you guys at home are going to be able to see exactly what we're talking about when we talk about the Posca paint markers. Amina and I have got some Posca paint markers and some Fumile acrylic paint marker. And we're going to do a couple things here. Number one, we need some ribbon on our presents, right? And so this is how I'm going to do a ribbon. So you ready? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's use the pink one as an example. I'm going to put 2 lines here and 2 lines there. That's the first thing I'm going to do. It's like the little bow part. Yeah. Oh yeah, good. I'm gonna do that exact same pattern to all of these guys. So we got that. Next thing, we are gonna wrap up the presents on this side by just making one straight line this way. Nice. We can also kind of, if you want to, do you want to go across here? Make like a T pattern?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do the T pattern. We'll go across that way. And we'll do the same thing to the other 3 presents as well. And we got these white Posca paint markers as well. And so we're gonna add a little bit of a design to our sleigh. So I like to put in like a little rim. So I'm gonna do a little white line going straight across to kind of give that angle of this little slope. Yep, you just do a straight line. Perfecto. And I'm also gonna add in little dots, little pattern. Just gonna dot them. Dot them as I go. Doesn't matter how many. I'm just gonna try to make my way across. I think it adds to this sleigh. That's just me. And just for funsies, I'm gonna go ahead and make a snowflake design, okay? So I'm gonna do like a little bit of, I'm gonna do it in the big end over here because I think I have more space. I'm gonna put a little circle. Yep, I'm gonna put like, almost like a T, like a cross coming off of this little circle. Perfecto. And then I'm just gonna do like little arrow shapes pointing towards it. Yep. And then I'm gonna put like little lines going on here. This is my version of a snowflake. And then if you want, you can also put some little dots on the bottom or a line on the bottom, whichever one you want, okay? And that'll do it for this holiday card, unless, of course, you want to write anything like Merry Christmas and stuff like that. Do you want to write Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or anything like that?
Yeah.
You do? Okay, so let's put this paint away. We're going to grab ourselves one of these ink pens. Which one do you like?
This one.
Like the red? Okay, take the red. I know you guys are saying, what do you mean red? There's red ink in there. And I've got a black one. So what do you want to write on this?
Happy Holidays.
Happy Holidays. Okay, so we'll write Happy Holidays. I might have room to write Happy and then Holidays here. Do you want to do the same thing on yours, or you want to write them on the bottom? You got a big space there.
Do Happy Holidays.
All right, let's go ahead and write down Happy Holidays. All right, so these cards look done, right? And the last thing we've got over here is to finish off our reindeers, okay? And for our reindeers, we're gonna go back to the Posca paint, okay? And we could put like a nice bright white on here, like a nice glow, or we could put like a nice shine. And the way I'm gonna do it's just doing one of these. Just, I'll put a dot, a line over here. To me, that looks really cool, okay? And then if your Rudolph's eyes are dry, I know we're a little wet, we can actually fix that up in 1 second, but if they are dry, we can go ahead and add 2 little white dots here to give them like these little cutesy eyes, I think. I think that looks really nice, right? All right, guys, so we fixed our eyes over here. We actually had to go in and use acrylic paint markers for this because it was just too wet and we were impatient and we made a little bit of a mistake. So definitely don't be impatient. Let your watercolors dry, guys. But we used acrylic paint there, and I'm sure we gotta write a little message on this one. Do you just wanna write a simple Merry Christmas since we did a Happy Holidays one already?
Yeah, all right, Merry Christmas.
So we finished up our 2 holiday cards. I think they came out pretty awesome, if you ask me.
Yeah.
What'd you think about this?
They look really good.
Did you have a lot of fun doing this?
Very.
What was your favorite part?
Rudolph.
Rudolph
and
was-
doing the antlers, I think. That was my favorite.
I do like the antlers. I had fun putting the metallic paint on the sleigh, honestly. I think that was my favorite part. I think it's shiny and I think it looks really great. Guys, if you have awesome Rudolph or awesome sleigh that you want to send in, please send it into the email that's down below in the description. And please join us tomorrow as we continue to count down the 12 days of Christmas by making 12 pieces of Christmas art. In tomorrow's episode, we'll be making Max from the Grinch. You guys have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.